The moment I heard the tow chain scrape my driveway, something inside me snapped like an old fence post in a prairie storm. It was a quiet Saturday. It's a kind that smells like bacon and motor oil. My wife, Linda, was in the kitchen, humming Patsy Cline and refilling my coffee. Our old ranch-style place sits at the curve of Cottonwood Lane white siding. Green shutters, a porch swing that's carried 3 decades of sunrises with me. The American flag my father folded with his own hands flutters over the front steps. That flag and this land are the only things I've never owed to anybody. I was halfway through changing the oil in my '79 F-150, my father's truck. The one he taught me to drive down the county road when a sunburned kid in a Cottonwood HOA patrol. Cap backed a tow rig into my driveway like he owned the place. He chewed gum the way a man chews bad news, sir, he called, reading off a clipboard without looking at me. This vehicle is in violation of HOA Rule 1-C. No non-operational or inoperable vehicles visible from the street. I wiped my hands on a rag. Son, you're in violation of breathing in my driveway without asking. He smirked, pointed at a yellow boots and tire image on his flyer, and jerked his chin toward the street. That's when I saw her. Karen. Real name's Beverly, but no one calls her that anymore. She was standing beside her mailbox with a camera phone, wearing big sunglasses like the sun owed her money. I could see the HOA president, Dale Parker, hovering a few houses down in his golf cart like a buzzard with a clipboard. Linda stepped onto the porch, eyes narrowed. "Can we help you boys with something?" she asked, sweet as iced tea with a lemon twist of steel. The tow driver turned out to be Karen's son. Tyler hooked his chain to the front bumper. He didn't see my father's initials, burned into the inside of the glove box lid. He didn't know about the morning I drove this truck to the hospital to hold my mother's hand goodbye. He didn't know this truck had carried fence posts, hay bales, the weight of a family's life. "What makes you think it's inoperable?" I asked. "Rule says if it's on blocks or has no plates," Tyler said, gum snapping, "or been stationary for more than 72 hours. Your plates are off for repair." I walked over real slow and tapped the hood. I just pulled the plates to repaint the bolts. And these are jack stands, not blocks. Mechanic work. Legal. Not according to the HOA, he said, tightening the chain. I heard gravel crunch. Dale's golf cart rolled up. He had his pastel polo and that tight-lipped smile like he was born in a rule book. "Good morning, Nathan," he said. "We sent notice Tuesday." I held up my phone. I responded Wednesday. "Your rule doesn't override state law or my deed." Dale's smile stayed, but his eyes flinched. "Our covenants stop at my property line," I finished. "This driveway's mine. Always has been." Karen raised her phone higher, whispering to her audience like she was narrating a nature show. "He's being aggressive," she said to no one and everyone. "You're on camera, Nathan." "Good," I said. "So's your son's chain." Tyler revved his rig. The chain went taut, metal singing. My father's truck shifted an inch, the jack stands groaned, and I felt heat rise in my chest. I stepped between the bumper and the tow rig, palms open. Linda's hand brushed my elbow. I could feel her worry like the air before a storm. "Move," Tyler said, mouth twisting, "or I'll call the sheriff." "Do that," I said, voice steady, "and tell him to bring the deeds." Dale's patience cracked like thin ice. "This is a private HOA enforcement." "No," I said, looking him dead on. "This is theft. On my land. Under my flag." Silence held a breath. Far off, a train horn blew. Closer, a mockingbird chattered in the oak. Linda disappeared inside and came back with a leather folder, the one that smells like paper and time-hour deed. The survey and the letter from Judge Albright from 15 years ago, when the HOA tried to claim our fence line and lost. We keep that letter like a talisman. Karen kept filming. "He's threatening us," she said. "He's unstable." I laughed once, short and hard. Unstable is bringing a tow truck onto a man's driveway and pulling his father's truck without asking. Sirens grew in the distance, that hollow, rising wail that makes even the innocent stand up straighter. Tyler shifted his weight. Dale's knuckles whitened on the clipboard. Karen pasted on a brave face for the camera, but her mouth trembled. I stepped forward so the camera framed the flag above me, the porch swing behind, the oak stretching like a guardian. You want to test if an HOA rule beats a state title and a judge's order? Do it right here, right now. The sheriff's SUV rolled up in a wash of gravel and dust. Deputy Morales stepped out, young, squared away, the kind of calm that makes you breathe easier. He took in the chain, the rig, the crowd. He tipped his hat to Linda, then looked at me. "Morning, Nathan." "Morning, Deputy," I said. "We got ourselves a misunderstanding." He nodded, eyes traveling to the flag, then the jack stands. "Let's start with paperwork." Linda handed him the folder. He flipped through, his finger pausing on the old court letter like it was a relic. Karen started narrating again. "Officer, this is a dangerous situation. That truck is blight," but Morales held up a hand. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "I'll hear from everyone. But first I need the property owner's say." Then to Tyler, "Unhook that chain till I sort this." Tyler's bravado wavered. He looked at his mother, then at Dale, then at the badge. The chain clanked to the ground, sound that felt like a pressure valve hissing open in my chest. Morales studied the line of our driveway in the survey, then stepped off the footage to the curb like he'd done it 100 times. He matched it to the oak, the mailbox, the crack in the pavement that looks like a map of the Mississippi. He nodded, satisfied. "Driveway is fully on Nathan's parcel. Vehicle is on jack stands for maintenance. No plates because they're being reinstalled, per the note he sent Wednesday. State law applies. HOA can't enforce a tow here." Dale swallowed. Karen's camera dropped an inch. Tyler kicked at a pebble. Morales handed the folder back to Linda like it was the Constitution. "Mr. Parker, Ms. Karen," he said carefully, "if you have a dispute, you take it to civil court. You don't bring a tow onto a man's property and start pulling." He turned to me, voice softer. "You good, Nathan?" I looked at Linda, then at the truck, then at my father's initials in my mind. "I am now," Karen huffed. "This isn't over." I looked into her camera lens like it was her eyes. "For your sake, I hope it is." Morales cleared his throat. "I'm going to write an incident report. Nathan, if you'd like to file a trespass complaint." "Not today," I said. "But thank you." The deputy left. Dale retreated to his golf cart, lower than when he came. Tyler climbed into his rig, cheeks red, trying not to meet my eyes. Karen filmed the whole retreat like a defeated general claiming grace. When they finally rolled off, the mockingbird sang again like the world had decided to keep turning. Linda squeezed my arm. "Coffee's getting cold," she said. I looked up at my father's flag, whispering in the breeze, and felt something settle in me. Not anger, not triumph. Something simpler. The steady weight of homeholding. "Let it," I said. "Some things are worth it." And for the first time that morning, I smiled. You learn a lot about people when you watch how they lose. Monday morning, Dale sent an email that read like a Sunday sermon delivered through gritted teeth. Per sheriff guidance, it said, the HOA will seek resolution through proper channels. Translation: they were going to bury us in paper. I've been a lineman, a foreman, a husband, a father. I'm not a lawyer, but I keep every scrap. I have boxes labeled with duct tape and Sharpie, dates marching across the lids like old soldiers. I made a pot of coffee, turned on the radio low, spread 40 years of property maps, utility bills, letters, and photographs on the kitchen table. Linda set a plate of biscuits by my elbow and sat down with a highlighter like we were studying for a test the county forgot to announce. At noon, the doorbell rang. It was a courier in a smart vest, holding a thicker packet than our church bulletin at Easter. Certified, he said, like the word could scare me. The cover letter listed everything the HOA claimed: inoperable vehicle visible, unsightly maintenance, obstruction of view for passing vehicles, property value risk, nuisance noise. He even included olfactory offense, which I guess was the smell of my motor oil and bacon. "Smells like America," Linda muttered. Handing me a pen to sign, I read every line twice. We made a list. Then I went for a walk. Cottonwood Lane is a half-moon of houses with porches and swing sets. Dogs that bark hello and fences kids hop without thinking. I waved to old Mr. Branson watering his rose bushes. Miss Carla from 2 doors down handed me a bag of tomatoes and whispered, "We're with you." Even young Josh, the kid who rides his skateboard like it's a ticket to the moon-called cool truck, Mr. H. I stopped by the mailbox in front of Karen's house. She stood on her porch like a queen on a postage stamp, arms crossed. Tyler was there too, in a tank top, polishing his tow rig with quick, angry strokes. "You returned the chain I dented?" I called. Tyler flushed. Karen's lips thinned. "You embarrassed my son," she said. "He was just doing his job." "On my property," I corrected. "Without asking, your truck's an eyesore," she shot back. "People come to this neighborhood to see manicured lawns and SUVs, not relics." I thought about my father sanding this truck's patina while telling me that history doesn't have to be shiny to be proud. "Funny," I said, "because most folks on this street seem to like seeing a little history," she snorted. "Most folks like rules. You're the exception." I walked back home to the sound of her front door snapping shut like a trap. That evening, our porch light flickered as the sky went purple and crickets tuned up. I pulled out the old court letter Judge Albright's order with the raised sea land, traced my finger over the words. 15 years ago, the HOA tried to claim our side yard as a common easement. My father was still alive then, and he fought back with a lawyer who smelled like pipe tobacco and knew every fence line in the county. We won. The order barred the HOA from entering our property without written consent for enforcement. Most people forgot. "I didn't think they know about this," Linda asked, handing me a glass of sweet tea. "If they do," I said, "they forgot on purpose." We drafted our response like we were building a bridge, straight lines, strong bolts. I cited state statute, quoted the judge, attached photos of the jack stands, and dated texts with our mechanic. I included witness statements from Mr. Branson and Miss Carla, and a note from Deputy Morales confirming his on-scene assessment. Then I dropped the packet at the HOA office slot with a sticky note, "For Mr. Parker, with my compliments." By Wednesday, rumor moved faster than the mail. I heard whispers that the HOA was calling an emergency meeting. Linda baked a batch of cookies pecan, because even in a fight you should bring something sweet. And we walked to the clubhouse when the evening cicadas started chanting, "The clubhouse smells like new carpet and old arguments." Dale stood at the front in a fresh polo, flanked by 2 board members I barely knew. Karen sat in the front row, sunglasses tucked into her hair like a tiara. Tyler leaned in the back, arms crossed. Dale tapped the mic, and it squealed. Justice in small-town meetings always starts with a squeal. "We are here," he announced, "to address a pattern of non-compliance that threatens our community standards." He clicked a slide. A giant photo of my truck filled the screen hood up, jack stands visible, my driveway like a stage. He clicked again and zoomed. Unsightly, unsafe, undermining property values. I waited for the next slide. It came, a bold font copy of Rule 1, to see he clicked again. A blank slide. He looked pleased, like he'd proved gravity. I raised my hand. "May I?" He hesitated, then gestured to the mic. I carried the cookies up with me and set them down like an offering. "My name is Nathan," I said. "My wife and I have lived on Cottonwood Lane 29 years. The truck on that screen is older than most of our trees. I changed the oil on Saturday like I've done since '94. The plates were off for repainting, not removed to avoid registration. The law recognizes maintenance. The sheriff recognized maintenance. And a court order signed 15 years ago by Judge Albright recognizes that the HOA cannot step onto our property to enforce anything without our say." I held up the letter. It caught the light and a few gasps. I clicked to my slide. Yes. I brought my own photos of neighbors smiling by the truck, the survey markings, a scan of the judge's order, and an email thread showing I gave notice of the maintenance. Then I clicked to the last slide. A picture of my father in front of the truck, in uniform, the flag on the porch, younger, but already proud. "This isn't just metal and rules," I said. "It's memory. It's a man who taught me to stand up without raising my voice. It's a porch light that's been on for others when they needed it." I looked around. Faces softened. Even one board member looked down like she was suddenly ashamed of the carpet Karen shot to her feet. "This is manipulation," she cried. "He's turning a simple rule into a sob story. He thinks he's above us." "I don't," I said. "But I won't be below you either." Dale cleared his throat. "We appreciate the sentiment. Nonetheless, rules do not supersede state law," came a voice from the doorway. Deputy Morales stepped in, hat in hand. A hush fell that felt like a tide pulling out. "I'm off duty," he said quickly, just dropping off the incident report as requested. "But since I'm here, I'll state it plain. The driveway belongs to Nathan. The vehicle was under maintenance. Attempting a tow there would constitute unlawful removal of property." Dale tried to smile. It looked like it hurt. "Thank you, officer." And one more thing," Morales added, glancing at Karen and Tyler. "Intimidation via recording is fine in public. But stepping onto a man's property and directing a contractor to remove his vehicle without due process is not. If it happens again, there will be charges." Karen's mouth opened, then closed like a fish, realizing the glass is real. The room shifted. You could feel the crowd deciding. Neighbors I'd changed tires for and helped dig out after winter storms nodded. Miss Carla dabbed her eyes. Mr. Branson clapped once, then twice. And soon the room rustled with small-town approval, the kind that isn't loud, but lasts. I picked up the cookies and held the plate to the front row. "Pecan?" I asked Karen. She looked at the plate like I was offering poisoned apples. Then she looked at Tyler, then at the faces around her. Pride cracked, just a hair. She took one barely. "They'll make you thirsty," she muttered. "I've got water," I said, and smiled. Dale straightened papers he didn't need to straighten. Meeting adjourned, he announced, "We will reevaluate enforcement procedures." As we walked home under the streetlights, Linda slipped her hand in mine. "You could have filed charges," she said. "I still could," I answered. The night smelled like cut grass and warm tires. But I'd rather fix the leaky roof than burn the house down. She squeezed my hand. "That sounds like your father. Feels like him too," I said, and glanced at the flag at the end of our block, catching the light like a quiet promise. The week after the meeting, Cottonwood Lane felt different. Not triumphant, just righted. Like a porch swing finally hung level, Dale sent out another email, short, careful, lawyer-scented. The HOA would be clarifying the scope of enforcement actions, coordinating with county authorities before initiating involuntary removals. In plain English, no more tow trucks on private driveways without the law behind them. Tyler's tow rig stopped idling at the corner as much. When I did see him, he nodded, quick and stiff. A few days later, I found a small envelope tucked under the wiper of my F-150. Inside was a receipt for a new chain and a scribbled note. "Sorry for the dent. T." I ran my thumb over the ink and set it in the glove box, next to my father's initials. Forgiveness doesn't need witnesses. It just needs room. Karen kept filming, but the phone started to tilt down sooner. One evening, as the sky went apricot and the crickets stirred, she stopped at the edge of my lawn. "Your wife's roses look good," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Linda will like hearing that," I said. "You want a cutting? They root easy." She hesitated, then shook her head. "Maybe later." Reinstalled the plates, cleaned bolts, fresh paint. I tightened every lug with the same steady turns I'd learned at 15. When I dropped the jack stands, the truck settled onto its tires with a satisfied sigh, like a horse taking weight after the farrier's done. I turned the key. The engine rumbled too, life-deep, familiar. The sound of every early morning I'd ever spent under a sky that didn't owe me explanations. I pulled out slow, rolled to the end of Cottonwood Lane, and took a left toward the lake. The water lay still as a held breath. Wind smelled like pine and old stories. I parked by the overlook and sat with the window down, listening to the engine tick as it cooled. Thinking about my father's hands on this same wheel, I imagined him grinning, that quiet grin that never needed words. When I drove back, Deputy Morales was parked at the corner, finishing a sandwich. He waved me down. Runs smooth, he said. Always did, I answered. He wiped his hands on a napkin. Thought you might want this? He handed me a copy of the incident report with the county seal official. Final, the kind of paper that closes doors gently instead of slamming them. If anyone gives you grief, you show them this and the judge's letter, and you call me. Appreciate it, I said. You from around here, Morales? Born 2 towns over, he said. My granddad built a barn with his own hands. Folks tried to tell him where to put his hay. He smiled, nodded, and stacked it where it would stay dry. Said common sense isn't common, but it's still sense. I laughed. Your granddad and my father would have got along. When I got home, Linda was on the porch swing with 2 glasses sweating in the heat. I sat beside her, and the chains creaked their familiar hello. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We watched the neighborhood ease into evening. Kids chalked suns on the sidewalk. Mr. Branson fought his hose and lost. Miss Carla waved from her garden. Karen stood at her mailbox, then, with visible effort, lifted a hand in something almost like a wave. I lifted mine back. It wasn't friendship, not yet, but it was a start. Later, as the sky went navy and the first stars pricked through, I took the flag down. I folded it the way my father taught me tight triangles, corners sharp. Linda held the last fold for me, as always. We slid it into the cedar box on the mantel. The house smelled like lemon oil, and the day's quiet victories, you know. Linda said you could have made a bigger show. People love a big show. I shook my head. I didn't need to win loud. I just needed to win, right? We sat there a while, the night frank and honest around us. Crickets sawed. Somewhere a screen door banged. The world, our small part of it, felt steady. Sometimes standing up for what's right isn't a speech or a fist. It's a stack of papers kept safe for years. It's a neighbor's quiet nod. It's the courage to say no without adding, I told you so. It's remembering that heritage isn't just land and metal. It's the way we carry ourselves when someone tries to take them from us, before bed. I walked out to the driveway one last time. I laid my hand on the hood of the F-150. Warm metal. Old paint. New bolts. I thought of my father, of Linda, of every dawn I'd met with both hands ready. I looked down Cottonwood Lane and felt peace settle like dew. The lake was calm again. And for the first time in years, so was I ever had an HOA, or a neighbor push you further than they should. Tell me your story in the comments. I read every one, and I've got coffee on for whoever needs to talk. If you believe some fights are worth having not to shout, but to stand, hit subscribe. We'll keep each other honest. We'll keep our porches open, and we'll stand up together.